Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I decided that right before the mid-season patch rolls around, we're going to go ahead and sit down and discuss my 3 major issues within every role in Overwatch. And yeah, let's get right into the video. Now, in true tank main fashion, I decided that we're going to start off with the tanks. And quick disclaimer, yes, I've read the developer's blog. You know, I know the changes coming to tanks in the mid-season patch. However, I still would like to go over the current issue within tanks, as well as you know, the issues in the past and why they are issues. Even though it sounds like a pretty good amount of them might be getting changed here soon. So let's go ahead and start off with the tanks. First up is the whole counter watch, rock paper scissors meta going on right now. It's no secret that you can't play just any old tank in Overwatch, and we'll get to that here in a second. Now, however, when you do select a tank, there is a very high chance that you're going to be countered before the first fight even happens or takes place. Now, why is that? Because it's so easy to counter tanks. It's just so easy to counter tanks, and now you're in this position of, if you pick the wrong tank that's not meta or whatever, you're throwing the first fight, which essentially is costing your team the point, costing about 25% of ult charge to the enemy team, and that could tip the scale against your team. Now, in certain modes on some maps, you could absolutely use this to your favor. Just come back with a counter, flip the point, win the match or whatever. But that kind of brings us to our next issue. You're forced to play certain characters. Now, this might be my most passionate issue within this role. It's no secret that you can't just pick whoever you want. If you don't pick the meta tank or any tank that plays similarly to that play style within that tank, you're putting your team at a huge disadvantage. Why? Please, someone, I swear to God, explain to me, how is it fair that I have to pick Orisa or Hog and bend the knee to my team and switch when I don't pick them? Also, we can have a chance at winning. Mind you, if I don't switch, my team will band together like the fucking Avengers, report me, and spam tank diff within the chat. It's just not fair. How can you preach that you want to make a great game and you want to give all this player agency and choice to your players, but tanks, we're forced to play the same 3 tanks. Everybody's been talking about hero bans, and I mean, like, Reinhardt's been banned since the brand picked up the 2. Tank is literally just in this position of all this, having this unnecessary pressure and all this unnecessary responsibility, and when things go left or when things go right, basically when things go to shit, you just put it on your tank, and it's just not fair. It's not fun. The last issue I have within the tank role is it just feels like a bigger DPS. Like, I want to ask you, what is a tank to you? What does it mean to tank? Take space, mitigate damage, be a bullet sponge. If these 3 things are solely what you expect your tank to do, then you have no idea what it is to be a tank. You don't. In my last video, I covered, what I personally believe each role, what their job is to do. Tank is just so much more than just these 3 things. In short, yes, they mitigate damage, yes, they take space, but they have to be able to survive, they have to be able to sustain, they have to be able to hold that space, they have to be a threat, they have to be a pressure, a presence. If you just switch characters, if one person just switches to a character and that instantly shuts down another tank, that's not good game design, that's not good character design. All tanks currently are bigger DPS with larger health pools. That's essentially it. Even the tanks that feel like tanks, Ball, Reinhardt, like, you can't necessarily play them without there being some underlying issue. Even the tanks that feel like how tanks should feel, that have some unique mechanic or whatever, you can't just play them. Even to a certain degree, Winston. Like, Winston, unique, he feels like a tank, he feels good, but if you don't have the synchronization within your team to make a dive properly, you're not gonna live. Listen, I understand it's been a really hard issue balancing having one tank since 5v5, but forcing us to have to play certain characters in order to win, it's just wrong. Like, this role has so much toxicity within itself, again, because of the responsibility and the pressure that one tank has. It's just not fun. I cannot recommend anyone plays this role in good faith. Now, we're going to switch gears here and talk about support. Now, whereas I thought tanks were a little heavy on the weak side, supports are extremely heavy on the strong side. Now, this leads directly into my first issue with the support role. You guys are so babied, and again, I am pretty split amongst all roles as far as like how much time I put into them. But the support roles have been babied. I understand a while ago, they wanted to bring some life into it, and they dropped a bunch of characters. But ever since then, it's never really been dialed back. You guys got more characters. You guys got more damage. You guys got more survivability. You got more cosmetics. More. Stop. Next up, listen. Supports have the biggest identity crisis I have ever seen in a video game. You have the biggest identity crisis out of any of the 3 roles. Do I want supports to just fall over at the first sign of trouble? No, absolutely not. But I do want you to be good at your job. You received the passive that you received so that you could use your utility and your other abilities, your cooldowns, on your team for support and utility purposes. Your job is to support your team. Identity crisis. Not to flank. Identity crisis. Not to take 1v1 duels. Identity crisis. Not to cover for a DPS or a tank who aren't doing their job. Identity crisis. But to support your team. To wrap up support, we need to talk about the support character design within the new characters that have been coming out. It's been getting wild. I believe, considering the last points that I had made, that support has been warped into this DPS support hybrid. It's very confusing, and some of which are a little too focused on the damage side of things. Don't believe me? Case in point. Let's talk about Kiriko, everyone's favorite support to bash on. Kiriko has like 10 abilities. Don't believe me? Let's talk about it. She can teleport through obstacles. She can climb walls. You know, she can passively regain health, nothing too crazy. She can also cleanse you of any status effect. She can make you immortal with the same move. She can literally make you untouchable with the same move. She can burst heal you with the same move. Her primary healing is pretty much auto. She has triple headshot damage or some shit. She can make you move faster. She can make your cooldown shorter with the same move. She can make you attack faster with the same move. Did I miss anything? Now let's go ahead and look at a support like Zenyatta. Now while he makes tanking a living hell from time to time, he ain't really doing much more. Another wild design, Baptiste. And hey, look, dude, he's truly one of my mains. I love Baptiste, but holy shit. And what about Moira? I know people talk about Moira, but I don't think people really fathom the type of numbers that she can put up in both healing and DPS. As a support character. And Kiriko and Baptiste are in the same boat, as well as a couple others. Listen, this next support character is supposed to be a flyer. And if there's anything I know, is that flyers have a pretty hard time in this game, especially with hit scans running it majority of the time. They will find a way to make this character busted. And it's sad because they don't really need to. They just need to make a good healer with fun and unique utility to help support their team. The final role that we're going to talk about is, it's honestly the one I have very little issue with. DPS is freaking hard, but that's honestly a skill issue on my end. Nevertheless, I have to give you 3 issues, so here we go. Now let me start off by saying that the DPS passive that they currently have definitely saved this role. Because prior to that, I truly believe that one of the main issues, and kinda still now to this day, is DPS is losing meaning in its role. Considering how well the other roles can cover for each other, I don't think any role is suffering quite as bad as the DPS in this regard. Not like, you know, making the role weaker, but it just kind of feels like everyone can just drop ship in DPS. You have tanks who are basically armored DPS, and then you have support who are basically DPS that can heal a little faster than everybody else. I personally think that takes away from like the specialty that is DPS. It takes away from the specialty of all the positions, but like I said, we're talking about DPS right now. So when everybody can DPS, it takes away from the specialty and the special feeling that it is to be a DPS. Look, again, it's hard to play DPS. You know what I mean? A lot of those characters, you have to really have skill to play, like Genji or Widow or whatever the case may be, but it just sucks to even try to put forth effort into those characters when supports like, I don't know, Moira exist, and they can they can do so much more DPS than you, or so much more damage than you. It just, you know, really defeats the purpose of trying to be good at these characters when you're just getting essentially diffed every match. Now the next subject I would like to talk about is, I have found that DPS have a huge ultimate problem. Now it really depends on what you see a DPS's ultimate is supposed to be doing. Me personally, I see them as something that is supposed to get results, to get eliminations, or at the very least set your team up to be in a better position to get them, but more so just flat out get eliminations. Now there's a handful, not all, but a good amount of DPS ultimates that are completely useless. When's the last time someone got an elimination with Dragon Strike? Now I mean Dragon Strike not being comboed with Zarya. Or could somebody explain to me why Bastion shoots 3 mortars that you can essentially jump up and escape from? You can literally stand in the circle radius, and if you can elevate yourself high enough, you will not take damage. Shit, I just learned the other day that Genji can deflect it. And let's not bring up, how slow they actually take to hit the ground as an ultimate. And how about Widow's ultimate? I mean, great, your team can see me through the wall. That's so great for you. Watch me wave and dance until it runs out. Pharah's ultimate is a mission that you're not going to come back from, if you know what I mean. You rarely will make it out of that alive, ever. Cassidy's the same way. Sim, ooh, a wall. Literally with Sim's wall, all you have to do is push past it, or they're going to fucking be double dutching through it like it's a jump rope. And then Dragon Blade. Oh my god. I am truly convinced that they just hate Genji as a character, that they never meant to put him in the game with the way they be doing this dude. The Dragon Blade is so bad if you're not nanoed, it's crazy. Last thing I have to say, and I mean it's more of a question, you'll see how this develops into the problem, but where do you go from here? Like, look, Overwatch, like y'all have nailed it from the hit scan angle. I'd be terrified to try and make another flyer. It's like, what, do you focus on more projectile characters? Like, guys, I don't see DPS getting any more characters, at least unique characters, for a while. Like, Venture was fun, they had some unique mechanics to make it feel fresh, but I think we got over them pretty fast. It wasn't anything game breaking. Now, I'm not saying that every character you have to come out with needs to be game breaking, but it just felt, I don't know. I feel like the community got over Venture pretty quickly. I know they want to catch up at least support with like the DPS roster, but I do feel like over time DPS is just going to kind of get more and more boring because it's the same thing. If the meta is in dive and people aren't playing Tracer Sombra, then it's going to be some sort of hit scan meta. Like, I have full faith that they have characters still designed for the role, but like, do they feel fresh? Are they truly adding anything to the game to like make them worth playing? I sense hero bans. Like I said in the beginning, I really don't have a lot of negative things to say about DPS. What I will say though is that I truly do believe that if you bring down the damage that supports can deal and you bring down the survivability of the tanks, that DPS will naturally feel more impactful and will naturally feel more like a individual role. They will naturally feel more impactful. It's a hard role, and you should let their skill speak for themselves. That should be the DPS specialty. Okay, thank you all so much for giving this video any of your time at all. I appreciate it so much. These are just my opinions. Feel free to voice yours in the comments down below. Feel free to voice if you agree or disagree with any of the points I've made here today. I would truly love to read it. This is the part of the video where I unfortunately have to ask you to please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more gaming content like this. My name is Jet, and I will catch you guys in the next video.